All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. It is time for the main event here at the Temple of Speed. It is time for Monza. It is time for the Italian Grand Prix here. Ladies and gentlemen, hello, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in on what is going to be I'm sure a fantastic afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you are, of racing action here. It's Division 1, it's the Italian Grand Prix. My name is Fallen Monkeys, back here in the booth, ready to take you through the action, joined once again by Jamie93. Jamie, I just heard the little mic click. Just want to check in, are you here with us? And if so, how are you doing today?
Always with you, Eric. I'm good, thank you, mate. And how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. Really excited to jump into this racing action we've got going on here. It's Monza. It's the Temple of Speed. It's the Italian Grand Prix, as I've said I think 6 times already. But honestly, I love this race. It's not really my favorite to drive as a driver. We don't really get along too well, myself and this track. But as a commentator, I love watching this. I love watching this track. I love watching this race. It always brings out such good racing action, and I'm excited to see what Division 1 can do here. And I mean, I've got Killer Blue here leading the charge on an outlap, and I gotta ask, like I do. Do you want to do the honors of taking us through the lap, or do you want me to do it here today?
I'll do it for you. See that you've done loads of talking in the past few streams, so you could just sit back and relax while I take you through this lap. So on board then with Killer Blue, approaching 340 kilometers an hour down the straight, about 210 miles per hour, braking at the 100 meter board, scrub off all the speed on the entry, slightly misses the curb, but you want to kiss this apex on the entry to turn 2. Oh, you can see he applied the throttle way too early and lost traction, so that's his time already ruined. Traction is really important coming out of the slow speed corners there, and that's that time compromise. So I think, do you want to go up on somebody else?
Yeah, we'll see if we can find somebody else. Who else is on a lap that's nearby? Here, I think I've got Old School 3000 as he just went through Curva Grande, approaching what I believe is Turn 4, Turn 5, similar to Turn 1 and Turn 2. Into Lesmos 1 now, and if you've got Old School, I can let you take the reins.
Alright, so you want to take the curve of the apex and use all of the track on the exit DRS for the second DRS zone. Only 2 DRS zones around here. And coming up towards JB1, who gets nice on the way on the left. This scarring curve is very important to get right. 5th gear through here, there's half throttle through there, then flat out. He takes the curve way too much, he's in the gravel.
Oh no!
Again. Oh, he's crashed out. You don't want to take that curve, you want to kiss the curve on the apex, but you don't want to ride it as such. So already 2 people struggling as Killer Blue goes quickest with a non-representative lap time of a 21.5, but sadly for him, oh, that's a shame. Old School already out in early stages of qualifying. We're about to have Gary, who's going to cross the line. Larkin's got quickest on the mediums, and 20.0 for Gary in first place, or Gary, depends how you want to say the name. There's different pronunciations.
I was watching Schiaparelli, a 20.1, so relatively on the pace, but not that pole position time we're so used to seeing from Schiaparelli over the last little bit. But right now that's Calvin with a near 120 flat, 120.020. That's a really fast lap to kick off the session here, if I do say so myself. But let's see who's running a lap. And oh, XL Larkin is out of qualifying as well. He did get a lap time on the board. It looks like there's a lot of, that looks to be right on the exit of turn 5, I believe, right before approaching Lesmos 1. I think might have just had a little bit of a tank slapper on the exit, and that wall comes very close to you on the on both hand sides there, and I think that might be what happened to Larkin. So unfortunate for him, as a 21.5 isn't the best time here as far as Division 1 pace is concerned, but he does have something on the board which is still a little bit better than what we saw with the likes of Old School, who lost it in Ascari. Now I've got Justice that I'm riding on board with as he's taken his turn through Ascari. I'm going to give up on the, I think, finishing up that lap of Monza, because it just seems to be jinxing the drivers ever so slightly here. And I don't think Justice was on a lap now that I'm looking further in, slowing down, letting other drivers through. So I guess I gotta find somebody who's running a lap.
On his out lap, I can take you through that because he's coming on the second to back straight.
Yeah, I'll get over to that. I've got Carmentalist here, who's also on a flying lap, so we'll keep an eye out on both those drivers. But I can switch over to Wouter here, as I just noticed he's come across the final corner, crossing the line, and heading down towards that turn 1.
So yet again, on board with Wouter then, he has had practice, 340 kilometers an hour, down to about 80 kilometers an hour. I was thinking about miles per hour as well. Short shift to third on the exit to get good traction. No wheel spin there for Wouter. You want to keep as tight as you can. Coming towards Curva Grande here. Just keep it to the right. Then you've got to think about your braking zone into the second chicane here. Brake at the 100 metre board, taking a lot of curve for this part, which he does do, avoiding the sausage curve, which he doesn't do on the second part, and he bounces him into the gravel. That sausage curve is going to catch a lot of people out, because you want to be taking the curbs, but you want to take the right amount of the curb, but you're absolutely precise with it too. So already, we've seen a few drivers getting caught out by those curves, and you probably see me getting caught out by the curves, because I've got a league race here tomorrow, so yeah, that's a note for me not to do.
Yep, and I mean, I can confirm myself as well, these curbs are, they can be very mean if you're not careful, especially that one on the exit of turn 5 that we saw Wouter take. I think it could have also been something similar that would happen to XL Larkin, that could have sent him off, but there is that curb on turn 5 that can really, literally rocket launch that car up into space if you're not careful. As Nathan JB sets a 120.5, good enough for P10 here. But yeah, between that curve, that curve on Ascari, you'll see it a lot more here in Division 1, I think, that drivers, they're going to be trying to extend the limits as much as they possibly can. But in a track like this one here in Monza, especially in this installment of the F1 game here on F1 2021, they really redid the curbs to punish that much more drivers who try to extend a little bit too much compared to how it was in the previous years, where now you're not just going to be getting that invalidated lap. You might just be compromising your car, and that's Feral Fury going for a little bit of a half spin right as I was on board with them. So another driver on the exit of turn 5, not riding that curb, like we saw Wouter do, but just extending the exit a little bit too much, unsettling the back end, and that's another driver whose lap is come to a close before it truly even started, before the midway point of the lap here.
We've got Chapelele on a lap time as he approaches to the second chicane, took turn 1 and turn 2 nicely. Already 2 tenths up, but hesitation coming towards the second part of the chicane. You can see the back end just stepping out there, coming into Lesmo 1. Just chuck it in there, carry the meter speed up, then use all the track on the left hand side. But same for this one, bring it down to 4th gear. He misses the curb on the entry, but uses the curb on the exit. DRS enabled for the second straight then. Give a bit of a distant toe just for the driver ahead. His second lap time, lost a bit of time in that middle sector. We've seen him made a few mistakes. Attacking Ascari now, goes a bit wide, and yep, he takes a lot of curb, and that invalidates it. So, compromised his line all the way through Ascari, and that cost him then on his second lap time on those soft compound tires. We've got ISRL out there, he's done a good job. 2 tenths up in the first sector already is ISRL making his way through the first Lesmo now, taking through 5th gear. You can see, oh, he's lost the car, he saves it. Good reaction that time there from Knight, but yeah, just a snap of oversteer just cost him a lot, and unfortunately he had to back out. He didn't crash there like Lewis Hamilton did back in 2009, just lost the car on the last lap.
Yeah, but very wisely heeds away to his teammate here this week. That was coming right along behind him, and that's Isaac Kush. No slipstream down that DRS straight, unfortunately. But I think better to get out of the way rather than try to get into any funky business. What was that?
Keep an eye on Giroud, so he's just gone 2 tenths up in that middle sector, and he's on course for a good lap time. He's currently P2, just a few hundreds behind Calvin, and a tenth behind Ita. Kush has gone quickest in the Aston Martin with a 19.9, but can Giroud coming around the final corner beat that lap time? It's going to be so close. What's it going to be? Oh, that's a fantastic lap time, 19.7. 2 tenths clear of Isa Kush.
fantastic few laps there. First from Izat Kush, crossed the line a little bit earlier, finally got that lap together and put that up into the sub 119s. I didn't even notice Excel Gary set a 119.953 earlier on, but didn't matter too much. Is right behind Jerome Visser, FRL Jerome, a 119.7, smashing those times out the window and setting that benchmark there into the high, moving towards the mid 120s. So of course we'll have to see if anybody can essentially respond. I'm seeing Wouter back on a flying lap now, so he might be a bit of a competitor. And right as I say that, Calvin responds with a 119.757, so just knocking Jerome off of that top spot of the timing tables here. So it's really seeming to be a bit of a battle here for that provisional pole in this stage of qualifying. Drivers just exchanging it all over the place. Wouter, meanwhile, gets his first lap time on the board, and all in all, a bit of a disappointing 120.7 for him. Puts him down all the way in 16th position, which isn't where we're used to seeing the Ferrari driver. Normally a little bit further up there here in the order, but I guess it's going to show the pace that a lot of drivers have here around this track in Monza.
Total P's has just gone 2/10 quicker in the middle sector, and Eklund's moved up into P7 in the AlphaTauri. Yeah, talk about Walter. Second lap time 20.7, not really competitive as you think it would be, but nevertheless he's got a few minutes to go and more lap time to improve. As Total P's then makes his way around the final corner now, let it drift out wide, come back through and take the tightest line through here. And what's it going to be for him? It's going to be a 20.0, puts him up into P5, 4/10 in that final sector, so that was a good lap time there from Total P's, and he's got possibly one more attempt at it with him, one more set of soft tyres to go.
Yeah, I thought he, honestly, I thought he had the 119 there, but it just wasn't meant to be. Just missed out by 2/100ths of a second, but still a very good lap time to bring him up into the top 5. And who was that? I think that was XL Tin Can that had just crossed the line to get a P6. Just a little bit slower than Total P's. It's a 120.052. So you can see how close the gaps are from essentially P5 all the way down to 10th place here, separated by, what is it, about a 1/10 of a second, a 1/10.5 of a second, just about. And it's even closer as we continue down the order here with a couple other drivers that still probably have a little bit more in the tank here with 5 minutes to go in this session. But let's see, who is on a lap right
just
now?
Mate. He's in P19, has a set of lap time along with the 3 drivers. Old School and Larkin obviously can't go quicker because they crashed on track, but there he is, then the Mercedes driver. Heading around the final corner now, let's see how he takes it. Obviously you can see the fuel lights popped up, so he's only doing 1 lap on those set of tyres. Isa Cushes came out for another go at it. Justice goes quickest with a 19.6 on his first attempt. That's a very good lap time. I did see him on the medium compound tyres early in this session, but obviously opted to go back on the soft compound tyres, and he's just gone quicker. So first attempt on the soft has gone really well for him. He's got 4 minutes and 25 seconds left to go here. Let's see what he can do when he comes back in the pit lane and goes back out again. So it's close between those guys, 90.6, 90.7, 90.7. 5 drivers and a 90 points. Can they get themselves? Nathan on the cusp there, he's got up into P6, found half a second in that final sector on his whole lap. So that's a very good lap time there from Nathan. But he's done 2 laps on those set of softs, so 1 on the first one. He managed it or made a mistake, which is quite common around here.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what happened to the first lap. I'd like to think possibly an invalidation, given how common it's been just in this session alone here with with some of these Division 1 drivers. But still found a way to improve, put himself up into P6, just missing out on that sub 120 mark that seems to be the benchmark here for the top 5. But Justice found that lap time when he needed it here, 119.6 up into provisional pole, but now we're already seeing other drivers starting to come out on track and try to challenge that. Izad Kush starting his flying lap. There goes Calvin on an out lap, XL Gary on an out lap as well. and I wouldn't be surprised to see Jerome Vasseur leave the pit lane within the next, I would say, minute or so to try to get a flying lap in, or one last flying lap in himself. I know Jerome Vasseur likes to wait until the end of the session. Oh my goodness, a big leap there from Izat Kush.
Do you think that was a distraction from the car ahead? Because even though he wasn't in the way, it's still a visual distraction to message up your eye line to the corners. So that didn't really help whatsoever, in my opinion, because you have to get those two corners absolutely spot on with the amount of curb you have to take and all that. So that I think it compromised. Don't you think, Eric?
Yeah, there could have been a little bit of it could have been a bit of a compromise, maybe throwing off just a little bit. But I mean, I think it goes back to a little bit like we're saying, you need to be essentially perfect on those curbs in order to take them in just the right spot. And I know drivers, especially near the top, like, let's say, Izat Kush, we see it from Wouter, we see it a lot from Chapelelli and rotation as well, taking those fine lines that you might get it 99% of the time, but I think it could have just been that 1% of the time that he just yanked it just a little bit too close to the curb, and that was the end of the attempt there. Not to say that the distraction wasn't a bit of a cause to it, but I wouldn't chalk it up to the only reason either, personally.
He's going for a second lap on these set of softs then, so if he does improve, he'll have to start on those tyres. His first set is just up slightly as he makes his way to turn 4, and turn 5 takes it absolutely spot on there, just avoided that second curb there. Now making his way to the first Lesmo, down to 5th gear we go. Bring it out wide, use all the track at the exit, same for this one. Bring it down to 4th gear, or he stays in 5th. Some people like to bring it down to 4th gear for the extra rotation. The car's still ahead of him just to give him a distant tow. This is his last lap to do so because he's run out of fuel. 2 tenths up in that middle sector is Isak Kush. So could he find himself on the front row, or can he find more time and put it up into pole position? That car ahead of him is backing off. That is Foul Fury. Will he gives him a tow down the straight, but he has to get out of the way because of giving the turbulent air, which he doesn't want whatsoever in this high-speed corner. Isak Kush then makes his way across the line. Will this be pole with the help of Foul Fury? Just outside. He improves by 2 tenths on the front row. He goes.
Yeah, found some improvement. Just couldn't quite get enough for that pole position time. Feral Fury, meanwhile, I do think he might be starting a flying lap of his own here, being this late in the session.
Oh, Gary's lost it.
Uh-oh.
He lost it at Sky, but he saves the car. There's a bit of a wobble on going there as he clipped the curb. It's the last part of a Sky, but thankfully saved it, but I don't think he's backing off, so he won't find more time. Juvis is out there. He's improved by 2 thousandths only in that first sector, so he needs to find a bit more time if he wants to take pole position back from Justice Assig in first place, or get on the front row along with Isak Kush. Second or first, probably the best place. Second is probably the best place to start, unless you can get to third and get a good start. Use the slipstream. It's almost a tenth up in that middle sector from Giroud President. Makes his way around the Sky now. I love the way he takes the curb. He slightly misses the part of a Sky. You want to kiss it, but don't want to ride it. Otherwise, off balance the car, throw you into the wall, or spin. Somebody's got off a turn 1, it seems, on the full map. That's an Alpine. I think he might have spun there. Was that Nathan going across the line and spin it? I'm not quite sure, but he continues on his way as Giroud President makes his way across the final corner. Is it pole? Yes, it is. Just low 90.5.
Yep, so fantastic lap from Jerome, but Justice also looks to be on a lap himself here, and he is a little bit faster, 5/100ths of a second faster through Sector 2. It is a purple second sector though, so if he can keep it up, he might be able to snag that right back. Needs about half a tenth of a second if I'm looking at my calculations right.
P5.
Yeah, Wouter up into P5 in the process. Chapelelli up into P3, knocking Izat Kush down. But here comes Justice across the line, and he does snag that pole position, a 119.534. I think Jerome thought he had it, but Justice found that lap right when he needed it. And with Izat Kush running in low fuel mode, it's going to be a Mercedes 1-2 here to start Monza.
Have you seen P6 Walter? Apparently he's done 5 laps on those set of softs, so we'll be seeing an early pit stop from him, won't we, if that's true? It says 5 laps on my screen. Does it say 5?
Oh my goodness, I did not see that at all. I didn't have the tire graph up in qualifying, but there you have it for everybody watching at home. You see it yourself. 5 laps on the softs. I
Must
don't
be
know what
about
the call
25% or
is.
something like
Yeah,
that. 25% already.
that's what I'm thinking. The only call I can really think of here as to why this might work is, I don't know, rain possibly to start the race and just keeping sets of soft tires if it ends up going dry. That's really the only strategy I can think of here as to why you'd want to be running 5 laps in qualifying on a tire and put yourself into the top 10.
By doing 5 laps of those tyres, he's only about just shy of 3/10 away from Justices. So let's see, we couldn't. Yeah, so Mercedes 1-2 then. Chapelele in P3. It's always nice to see Chapelele up there. You always know he's always in contention for the win. Issa Kush P4, his main championship rival, down in P6. Calvin P5, Gary P7, Eckler P8, Killer Blue in P9, Nathan JB in P10. With total Ps just outside the top 10. We don't really see Ps down there, but might not be his track like everybody else, because some people have good tracks, you see them perform, and some people have their bad tracks. This is my one of worst track. This is my one of, I can't even speak to that, I'm so sorry, Eric.
It's all right. I think we get it. It's honestly not one of my best tracks either here. I would put it into one of my worst tracks, or yeah, definitely one of the not great tracks. But I mean, the other thing to note as well is that when you're looking at the gaps, it might just be less about, let's say, I'll use total Ps as an example of being outside the top 10. Maybe less about his lack of pace, but could be more just the amount of pace that drivers ahead have here on this track. I mean, the top 10 nearly going down to the top 15, all separated by about half a second to a second here. So the gaps are close, and I do think that this race might just be a little bit closer than what the timing tables appear here. I think it could have just been tiny little mistakes in qualifying that would have made the difference between a driver up in, let's say, 3rd or 4th, or ending up down in, let's say, 12th, 13th, 14th, the likes of which, for example, Carmentelis down in 15th place. That's not where we're totally used to seeing the AlphaTauri driver, but he's going to make it work. But as we're starting the formation lap here, let's see what the strategy is. So of course the top 10 all on the soft tires, as they set their best lap time in qualifying on those tires. But looking at best of the rest here, I mean, total Ps and Knight 11th and 12th, starting on the softs. Excel, Tin Can, Jamie 1, Carmentelis, they put on a set of mediums. Feral Fury, he chose to put the soft tires on in 16th, Rotation in 17th on the mediums, Wagner on the softs in 18th, and XL Larkin, Old School, putting on a set of medium tires. So I do want to ask, if you are in these positions outside of the top 10, would you go softs or would you go mediums?
That's a good question, actually, mate. I actually don't know, because the chance of a safety car is quite high around here, especially what we've seen in qualifiers so far. So either one of them could be good, but those guys on the soft tyres, P16, P18, obviously have got a lot of work to do by making those positions up. Yeah, total Ps is well down in P11 and 9, top 12 of the soft. So interesting to see what strategy works with those guys. But I gotta ask the same question to you, Eric. What do you think?
Well, I've got a little bit of an advantage given I raced this morning here, and was actually in that situation. I went for a set of soft tires for the sole purpose of just having that jump off the start. Like I always tend to say, I like to have the extra pace when the grid is close together, and if we do end up getting a safety car, I like to think it's going to happen relatively early, and it just gives me that option to put on a set of medium tires and really extend, rather than get stuck in sort of this no man's land like we've seen with some of the medium tire runners. But we'll have to see what strategy is going to play out as the drivers take in their positions on the grid, and we're just about set for the 5 red lights to start the Italian Grand Prix here. So here we go, up to 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights. And the lights are off, and we are racing here in Italy, as it looks to be a good start from both Mercedes drivers, as Justice leading the charge down into turn 1, but you've got Schiaparelli and Isaac Kush trying to make it a bit of a battle here. There goes Jerome, able to defend, but Schiaparelli up into third, Isaac down in 4th position, and you can see Wouter and Calvin having a little side-by-side battle as they head down towards Curva Grande. It looks like Wouter making those 5-lap-old tires work for him here in the early stages. Calvin trying to get past, but Wouter just having a little bit more pace here as they head into the ever so dangerous section of turn 4, turn 5. Nathan, JB, and Killer Blue are having a little bit of a battle side by side here through Lesmos 1. We've got a yellow flag somewhere along the way. I'm not too sure what that was for, but it looks like that's been cleared up as Nathan and Killer Blue still side by side through the second Lesmos. It's going to come down to a drag race, and I think it's Nathan who got it here as rotation, I think, bringing down a yellow flag. Total P's going for an overtake now on Killer Blue. Ooh. There's a little bit of end plate damage there in the process.
Killer Blue's crushed.
Killer
He's
Blue
on the
is
race.
Out of this race, and that's another Williams Wagner going for a little bit of a spin.
There's
contact.
Carmentalist
and Tin Can getting involved with one another. I mean, we got a great angle as to everything that happened there, but it all just happened so fast. I missed about half of it. Just as I'm looking at one thing, something else was happening there. But just like that, we're under safety car here after what was just one lap of green flag racing.
All unfolded on that first lap in a Ascari, but it was good racing until that point. Total P's were optimistic. He was side by side with Wagner, I think. Clean move. ISRL hit the back of Wagner, lost his end plate, and he's in the pit lane now. And someone lost traction coming out of Ascari. That's why Tin Can and Carmentalist made contact with each other. So that was an interesting first lap. Say these, like you said, it all happened so quick. I can't exactly remember what happened, but a good start for both Mercedes is there. As Wouter is in the pit lane, he's going for a 2-stop strategy along with Gary. Isak Kushi also pitted as well. Nice pit obviously with that broken front wing. He's going for a 2-stop. Wagner on the hard compound tyres. He might try and go towards the end. Tin Can and rotation on a brand new set of the soft compound tyres, so obviously go for an aggressive middle stint here and trying to go on the medium compound tyres later in that second stint. But yeah, good job from both Mercedes. 1 and 2, Schiaparelli in P3, Calvin is up into P4, gaining 1 place, Eklund in P5, Nathan in total Ps gaining 4 places off the start, Jamie 1 up into P8 after starting P14, Val Fiore made a few places as well, up into P9, obviously the guys below pitted. Larkin and Old School made up 9 places together, so yeah. And into the pit lane comes Eklund on lap 2. Interestingly, came to the pit lane, but I think, did they cross the line when the safety car came out with those guys? Is that why they couldn't pit on lap 1?
It might have been close. I didn't quite get to see where they were when the safety car did initially come out, but I think it might just actually be the case and why Eklund had to wait that extra lap, because I really don't see any other advantage in pitting here at the end of lap 2 to start lap 3 compared to pitting at the end of the first lap. So I'm led to believe that it was exactly that. They had already crossed the line by the time the safety car came out, so they couldn't take advantage of that early pit stop.
Comes out at P11 though, the rest of the guys who pitted, so he's one of the highest people who pitted up into P11, so hasn't really lost anything. There has Eklund.
Yeah, and I mean, option 2 could just be that he didn't want to deal with the chaos of pit lane, knowing everybody was going to pit in. So wait that extra lap, let the chaos sort itself out with everybody behind him, and you just get that free pit lane, dive in, get the tires, dive out. And I mean, in Eklund's case, it did work out for him. Like you mentioned, he's ahead of Isaac Kush, ahead of Wouter, and still finds himself in a decent spot, being the lead runner of the fresh tire gang, I guess I could say. The top 10 drivers decided they wanted to stay out, 7 of which opting to stay on the soft tires, and everybody else taking that pit stop here under safety car to put on a fresh set of boots. I will say, for Wouter's sake, he might be very happy that safety car came out so he could get off of those soft tires. So now he's on a much fresher set of medium tires, and to be fair, he's got probably a decent bank of tires to use if he needs them, if we do see other safety cars, if we do see other pit stops here between now and the end of the race.
Interestingly, Tin Can down in P18 is pitted for a brand new... What's going on there? I just seen Nathan overtake Calvin, but Calvin's overtaking a bike. He should be going side by side of the straight. But interestingly, Tin Can has pitted for a brand new set of medium tyres. He did start on the mediums and probably went onto the soft, so he didn't have to use that more than one tyre compound rule. So he switched over to the mediums again on a brand new set of mediums and currently making his way down the second to the last straight. So he catches the pack, and if he catches the pack this lap, it'll come into the pit lane. The safety car will.
Yep, and I think he should be able to catch up to the pack here. Just looking at the gap, and it might be a little beneficial for him as he gets to push those tires just a little bit more. It might not help the wear too much, but he's gonna have a bit more temperature than everybody else who's just stuck going at a bit more of a snail's pace, relatively speaking, behind that safety car.
It also help the soft runners initially, so they can save a bit of tyre wear, make that softer medium still work.
Yeah, but even even without the safety car, I think the one stop should be able to work without too much worry. Take the softs to about 10, 11 laps, and then put a set of mediums on to go to the end. The safety car here, a little bit of a nail in that coffin with the or a little bit of a wrench in that strategy, I guess I should say, with the pit stops here. So we might be seeing a bit more of possibly a two-stop strategy here. But I guess safety car is going to be staying out for one more lap.
Yep, definitely helped Walter's case because those 5-lap old tyres already, it would be like 25% on the first lap.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, definitely helped his case. And who was that? That's Chapelelli, who decided that now he's going to take a turn into the pit lane. And
interesting.
Yeah, an interesting call. A bit of a late call here. And Wagner also taking a pit stop. He's going to get off that a set of hard tires. He might favor those yellow-walled medium tires as well, similar to what Chapelelli decided he wanted to put on.
That's interesting from Chapelelli. He went from P3 to P17, so he gave up all that track position. He stuck behind the, let's just say, the new fresh tyre gang. So that's very interesting because he's going to fight those guys ahead of him with those fresh and medium tyres too. So that's an interesting call Chapelelli has made there. Wagner on a brand new set of mediums. He was on the hards, so he decides he don't want to take those to the end. He's going to join those medium runners and see what he can do from there. Probably the faster way to go, maybe, but they're definitely going to pit again those medium runners because they can't take them to the end of this race.
Yeah, and I do like the choice from Wagner. I didn't like the choice to get onto the hard tires. Yes, they can go longer, but you're going to lose out on a lot of pace here, especially being near the back of the field when you want to be trying to overtake, when you need a little bit more pace to gain a few positions. I think the mediums are the much better option, but Chapelelli, similar to what we had mentioned with Eklund, I would have thought if he wanted to pit, he should have done it maybe a lap or two ago, not now where he ends up at the back of the field. He does catch right back up, but he's not really in much more of an advantageous position compared to, I guess we're calling them the fresh tire gang that's ahead of him there. But we'll see how it's all going to play out. Safety car, it has been announced that it's coming in at the end of this lap, so you can see Justice slowing down the field a little bit, getting that final little bit of heat, that final preparation into his tire, into that strategy before he heads down towards Parabolica and across the line. It looks like now is when he's going to decide he wants to go. As you can see, it looks to be a good start from him, but we'll see if anybody's going to catch up down the long straight as they head towards the line. Jerome leaving a bit of a gap, which is crucial for Justice here, but you can see Calvin putting a little bit of pressure, but with no no DRS, I should say, unable to go for an overtake, unable to get ahead. So the top three remain unchanged. And it looks like other than Izad Kush and Eklund having a little bit of a battle there, now Wouter trying to get ahead. It looks like positions remain unchanged through turn 1. But Eklund through Curva Grande defending on the Ferrari car. We'll see if he's going to go for a move down the inside. He gets on the brakes. Does get the overtake done cleanly, does Wouter. So he gets to stick with his main championship rival in the process as they're continuing their charge up the field. But further up... Sorry?
Got some news. I think Wagner and Chapelele might have came together because Wagner's in the pit lane again on a new set of mediums, and Chapelele has lost his end plate, so that's not worked whatsoever for Chapelele, losing his footwing end plate there, and he's going to lose a lot of downforce in these medium speed corners there. So that strategy has been ruined, and somebody has made it. That's rotation.
Yep, getting back on track now, but the damage has been done for rotation as he had a moment through Ascari. I'm just seeing that in-play damage on Chapelele's car, not ideal for him here as that's a lot of time lost, and it could be even more with that other pit stop. So yeah, that pit strategy under safety car really not working out for him. Let's see, and I think, yeah, that's a little bit what I thought. That was the end of Chapelele's race here. Not wanting to deal with that after that frustration with the damage, and he's taken an early end to that race with the DNF retiring the car. But looking back at the action here, Justice has a decently comfortable gap, just a little bit over a second to his teammate. But you can see Calvin in third, putting a lot of pressure still on Jerome. I think just waiting for DRS to get activated once again, so he can maybe try to gain a little bit more ground, try to close up a little bit more on the leaders, possibly overtake P2 in the process. And gotta hand it to Nathan JB, running in fourth right now, having a good race so far. He's still very much in contention as well, as much as he has Total P's right behind him for a little bit of company and a little bit of pace, a little bit of battling here possibly between those two drivers.
Yep, Mercedes 1-2, Alpine 3-4, and early on in the lap, Issa Kush made a mistake with Lesbo 2, lost the rear end, but he managed to keep it as he applies the pressure to Old School ahead of him, who is outside the DRS range on Larkin, so he's going to be vulnerable once that DRS starts to open for Issa Kush and Walter and Eklund, those guys behind him. But like you said, it's crucial for Giroud Visser to get inside that 1 second DRS range. He used a lot of overtake already, has Giroud and Justice has already used a lot of battery power just to pull away that 1 second gap, so he needs to try to save that up just in case if Giroud does get involved in that fight. Nathan doing a good job there. He's 1.5 seconds behind his teammate as Total P's continues to apply the pressure on him with JB1 on those medium compound tyres. In a few lap time, we might see JB1 close up that gap and possibly put an overtake whilst those soft tyres start to degrade even more.
Yep, and we're seeing a little bit of closing now with the help of that rear wing flap opening DRS on board with Total P's as he was closing up on Nathan. Unable to get the job done there into that corner, but down the much longer start-finish straight. I think that's where we're going to see a lot of action, a lot of fireworks here. Meanwhile, Wouter and Izad Kush are having a little bit of a drag race here. Wouter trying to use his teammate for a little bit of help with the slipstream, but just not able to make it work for him as Izad Kush hanging on to that lead. But looks like Calvin is going to go for a move on Jerome Visser. And right behind him, you can see Total P's getting ahead of Nathan JB. So Calvin gets the overtake done. And it looks like Total P's gets the overtake done as well with the help of DRS. And you can just see right there already how powerful that is here on this track around this circuit. Meanwhile, Izad Kush got ahead of Old School with the help of DRS. I just noticed that. So now Wouter's going to try to get ahead of his teammate. But Old School not giving him too much here. That's XL Larkin that had a little bit of a moment as he gets off. And now Wouter does get ahead of Old School, so he can continue his charge on Izad Kush. But it looks like already the time has been lost, so a little bit more work cut out for him. I think that was rotation that brought out a yellow flag a little bit further away from the track. And now Eklund getting ahead of Old School through Ascari, and Knight getting ahead of XL Larkin, who I think is still trying to get a little bit of that gravel off of those tires there after going off track a little bit earlier in the lap.
Important for him to get that gravel off so he could get the tyres back up to that working range. And Jamie Warren has overtaken Nathan as he's one of the first off-roaders to come into the pit lane. There's a massive train right behind Eklund and Old School. It's about to overtake by the Hash driver. He also got DRS behind him. McLaren in the background is also going for it on ISRL Night. So they go two abreast now, does the Hash and Old School. Larkin goes down the inside of ISRL Night. They continue their way. Gary goes around the outside and Larkin goes around the outside of Night. So good overtakes happening around the outside of there.
Yep, some good battles, some good overtaking there into turn 1 and turn 2. Always a little bit, I'll be honest, I'm always a little bit nervous into those corners, knowing how prevalent the Cody's hook is, especially around turn 1 and turn 2, as we've seen already. But happy to see they made it through cleanly there. Only 17 more laps of that to go here before we can all breathe not have to worry too much about that, but I'm just loving the action we're seeing, and it's not going to slow up anytime soon. Knight still trying to close up on Old School, who is trying to close up on XL Larkin, who's finding a bit more of that pace now, that those tires are running a little bit more optimally than they were one lap ago. Meanwhile, Wouter right behind, he's at Kush, so he's been able to close up that gap. Jerome is taking his pit stop, and so is Total Peas for that matter. These two powerhouses, they continue on as they're going to go alongside, but with the help of DRS, it's a bit of an easy move for the Ferrari driver as Wouter gets ahead of his rival and puts himself up into P5. And next up, they're going to be closing up on Feral Fury, who's running on 10-lap old soft tires. So I think as much as Justice is leading, they're going to have to take their pit stops. I think Jamie might be a little bit more of a leader in the medium to longer term, but he himself also has to take a pit stop in, I would think, about maybe 8 laps time or so to get off of those medium tires.
Yeah, but you see, Jamie 1 will be quicker at this stage than the top two. That was a good battle between 9, 10 to 11 there, as Old School tried to re-overtake Larkin into turn 1, and I saw Knight lurking in the background there, trying to overtake Old School. Bit of contact going into turn 2, but it was all okay. Knight lost a little bit of time, but obviously that DRS range could start to close back in on Old School as he's right behind Larkin. So I wonder if the top two then will come into the pit lane and try to respond to Nathan and Jeroen's undercut as Justice slides to the final corner. He does not come into the pits. What about Calvin? He stays out too. So the top two going past yet again as we head on to lap 12 at 27 of this race. Meanwhile, I think I saw that just...
There was a little bit of contact. They were drag racing down towards Parabolica, and just a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact between Knight and Old School unsettled the car of the Ferrari driver, and at that point the damage was already done. Knight drove off. Old School unfortunately had to go for a little bit of a spin, but it looks like he's back on track now, and he's just got a little bit of time loss that he's going to have to try to make back up here. But really unfortunate for the Ferrari driver getting caught up into that incident there.
Witnessed a good battle between Eklund and Gary as they were making their fight into turn 1 and turn 2. Eklund went around the outside for one moment. I thought he braked a bit too late and outbroke himself, but he didn't. He went wide into turn 2, but Gary lost traction coming out of turn 2 anyway, so that allowed Eklund to stay ahead of him. And Easter Kush still applying the pressure on the back of the Ferrari Walter, and Val Fury also on the soft compound tyres. I think he might pit sometime soon as well. So let's see if Justice Ass and Calvin will make their way around the final corner to go in the pit lane, or will they stay out there for one more lap. Jeroen will encounter a bit of traffic soon with Old School in front of him. 1.3 seconds is the gap, and it's reducing ever so slightly as well. So Jeroen will encounter traffic. Same with Total Peas and Nathan once they get up there and warm those medium compound tyres up. Meanwhile, Foul Fury is on the back of Jamie in there. Jamie on the medium compound tyres. Interestingly, the top two are still pulling away from Jamie despite being on his old soft compound tyres. Will Foul Fury go down inside its turn 1? Isa Kush overtakes Walter, and further back we see Gary re-overtake Eklund for P7. So that's a good battle going on between all 4 of them, where as Walter has lost a position to Isa Kush and Eklund's lost a position to Gary there too. Yeah, Jeroen's overtaking Old School. Really, important move there into turn 1. Now he's got a bit of clean air ahead of him, 7.8 seconds the gap. He can try to reduce it to try and do that undercut on Calvin and just as his teammate in P1. He can use that fresh air to try and close in and see what he could do from there.
Oh yeah, and that's the key for Jerome. Like you said, it was a crucial overtake to get past Old School, so he can use that clean air to his advantage and try to well, essentially close up the gap he has now. But in terms of the pit stop strategies, make that undercut work a little bit better for him, as it looks like the top two and Feral Fury, they're staying out much longer than what was initially predicted. I'm thinking the laps under the safety car might have helped with the tire wear, but you gotta think they're falling off the pace. And there you go, Justice takes his pit stop. Calvin dives into the pits. Feral Fury, meanwhile, he's gonna continue on the charge here as he's still chasing down Jamie 1, but it looks like that gap is starting to grow a little bit more now. Just looking at the deltas into turn 1 compared to where they were 1 lap ago, a little bit further back is Feral Fury here, and I think those soft tires might be starting to hit the cliff just a little bit here.
Let's see, Jeroen Visser has got out ahead of his teammates, so the undercut has worked, but in terms of tyre advantage, Justice has got younger tyres compared to his teammate. And where is Calvin? He's rejoined right behind Old School, which he does not want whatsoever, and he's been undercutted by Total Peas, so Calvin then has to make the move on Old School as quickly as he can. Not down here, though, is too risky, so he might have to stay behind for the next few corners until he can get very close at the second Lesbo and try and overtake him before Ascaris, so he's got him to negotiate. Then Total Peas ahead of him. Meanwhile, his teammate down in P15 there, 2.6 seconds away. He could use him to try and close up a bit, but it's worked so far for Jeroen Visser, but in terms of tyre advantage, that belongs to Justice. So let's see if he can use that tyre advantage to re-overtake Jeroen Visser for the lead of the race. And Calvin actually got past him, like I said before, Ascari, so they didn't get held up too long, and he can start putting pressure on Total Peas ahead of him for P12.
Yeah, the damage was limited there between Calvin and Old School, as he was able to get ahead of him up into 13th, and he's essentially right back on the back of this, I'll call them the lead pack of cars, or the what are essentially almost the net lead pack of cars, Jerome, Justice, Total Peas, and now Calvin. But like you were saying, the damage has already been done with Total Peas making the undercut work for him and getting ahead of Calvin with the after the pit stops are said and done. So it's going to come down to essentially pure racing now between these 4 cars as the laps tick down, and we head down to 12 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Meanwhile, you still have Eklund and Gary having a little bit of a battle. Knight and Larkin are picking up right where they left off here, as the Aston Martin is sandwiched between 2 McLarens. Isaac Kush getting ahead of Feral Fury with the help of DRS right before Ascari. So you can see Isaac Kush on a bit of a charge. Feral Fury, meanwhile, is being pressured immensely by Wouter, and I think the move is going to come very quickly here. And there you go. There is the overtake. And you got to think, if you're Feral Fury, you got to think he's going to dive into the pits here at the end of this lap.
You do. First penalty award goes to Larkin. I'm surprised not many people picked up a penalty due to the track being very hard to drive around here. But yeah, Valfiori taking off those soft compound tyres. Walter so close behind Isakush. I think he's too far back to make a move. Going into turn number 1 then. Let's see, Jeroen Visser has his teammates just set the fastest lap, and he's in the DRS range for good measure too, so Jeroen Visser will be under pressure by his teammate and try and defend for the rest of the race to try and stay in that lead in first place. Total Peas and Calvin having a good battle for P11 there. Calvin's so close right behind Total Peas, being 3 lap younger tyres.
Yeah, he came right up close on the entrance into turn 1, but just did not have enough to get the overtake done. So I had to slot behind and try again. But you can see Calvin's still doing a very good job of sticking with Total Peas here. So there could possibly be an overtake in this next section of the track if Calvin can get the exit, but it looks like Total Peas was able to get a slightly better exit here, and he should be able to hang on to that position. Oh, what happened to Calvin there? A little bit of almost looked like a steering fault or a lapse of judgment there from Calvin, clipping the wall. Oh no,
he's crashed.
A even bigger mistake from Total Peas there, as we got the great view on board with Calvin in the process, but that's going to bring out a full safety car, and it looks like a little bit of what we saw in qualifying, just taking a little bit too much curb on the exit of the final section of the Ascari chicane complex, and unfortunately for Total Peas, that's the end of his Grand Prix. Calvin, meanwhile, taking a pit stop. It might be for a wing change here after that mistake. He's got a set of softs on. No. So no wing change. Crucially for Calvin, just a fresh set of boots here, putting on a set of soft tires. Unsurprising here. And I think once again, we're stuck in the situation where I'll say the top 6 to top 8 might have already passed the pit lane by the time the safety car came out, so they're going to be maybe one lap behind on that pit stop here, compared to the rest of the field that's a little bit further behind. We'll see how all of that is going to play out, but for now, Jamie 1 is leading this Grand Prix, and he might have received a gift here with this safety car, as he has yet to take a pit stop from those medium tires, as far as I'm aware, and now he, in theory, can take that free pit stop under the safety car. And knowing that, I would think that the likes of Izat Kush, Wouter, and there you go, the top 3 all following along. Everybody except for XL Gary taking a pit stop. XL Gary, meanwhile, he's staying out. I think it just didn't want to double stack with his teammate who was leading the Grand Prix, so he's forced to stay out for that extra lap. But other than him, it looks like everybody else has taken that pit stop to put on a set of softs. I just noticed Jerome left the session, so hopefully that's just a connection issue that we can get him back in sooner rather than later before the safety car restarts. But for now, XL Gary leading this Grand Prix, Jerome in second, Justice rounding out the podium here. Top 3 on the medium tires, but everybody else behind on those on a fresh set of soft tires here.
I'll be very interested to see how it unfolds in the last few laps of this race. JB1 benefited by the safety car. He gets to put on a brand new set of softs without losing any time whatsoever. Soft runner in P4 there. And he's surprised that Gary didn't pit it on P1 because he's going to be exposed to those guys on the softs behind him and the guys in second and third being on fresher medium compound tyres as well. So he could be in a risky situation there.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see XL Gary.
Left,
sorry?
Jerome Fizzer has left the session, it seems. He's ghosted. He's got an X next to his name if you go on board with Justice.
Yeah,
you see that,
I did notice that. I'm hoping that it's just a little bit of connection issues from Jerome's end, and that he can get back into the race. We'll maybe we could probably get an invite sent off for him here under safety car.
I'll do it for you.
All right. Oh, he just joined back in, so I think they're a little ahead of us here in the booth. But around, let's see, is Gary gonna take a pit stop? And I thought he was, but no, he's gonna stay out. And I don't know how I feel about this call here from Gary. I mean, he's got track position, so I think he's going to do his best, but on 16-lap-old medium tires, I feel like I've seen this one before where the medium tires just fall off a cliff, and those fresh set of softs, this driver just gets eaten alive here on track. So we'll have to see how that's going to work out for Gary, but I don't know how this is going to play out for him. I think he should have taken a pit stop.
Yeah, I agree too with you, mate. His teammate, Matt, however, down in P4, could he find himself... Wait, Val Fiore has got a 5-second time penalty for a collision with Nathan JB. Where are they? Nathan down in P4, P4
yeah,
and
they're
P50.
Near the back. So I think...
But
sorry, going ahead.
But Javian, could he find himself on the podium after starting P14 on the grid? He's done a fantastic job, consistent pace on the medium compound tyres. He's in a fantastic position on a brand new set of softs behind medium runners as well, so this could pay out for him in the end of this race. He's got 8 laps to do on these soft compound tyres. If the safety car comes in at the end of this race, this rotation is yet to catch up to the field. And I wonder if Valfiore picked up any foot wind damage. He is going slowly, and I wonder if he's lost a bit of his end plates there. I can't really see from this camera angle, as it's not showing me. I'm on board with his helmet angle. I can't really see really, but we're going on board with the rotation to see if there's any damage. He's got past him.
Yeah, I'm really the two Red Bulls driving in formation. Let's. I'm trying to see if there's any.
Rotation's just crashed in the. Oh, I don't know what's going on there, but
yeah, a little bit of funky business. It looks like there is end plate damage on Feral Fury's car. Rotation, meanwhile, I would definitely think has damage now after bumping into Feral Fury and the wall. So a little bit of a lapse of concentration, I guess, a miscommunication on the pit wall, so to say, from the Red Bull team and the Red Bull drivers. And now Nathan pitting, Feral pitting, and I think Rotation is going to pit as so Rotation is going to pit as well. After that little kerfuffle, so possibly a new front wing, new tires, maybe a pep talk from the from Christian Horner down there on the pit wall to both drivers, and we'll see how that's going to play out. Yeah, something like that.
Valfiore has just served his 5-second time penalty. His first 5-second time penalty in the pit lane, waited 5 seconds, so he's got a penalty removed there already. Yeah, I mean, 2 penalties on lap 19 from Nathan and his teammate. But he's got rid of one of them. As Nathan JB has also got rid of his penalty as well. He didn't actually have one. It was Valfiore who hit the back of him. But Nathan JB then on a brand new set of soft tyres, and let's see what he could do from there in P14. But it's going to be interesting. I think the safety car could come in this lap, if not, definitely the next lap, because it's been out for more than 2 or 3 laps. So can't wait to see how this race unfolds. Will both Mercedes be under pressure from Jamie, Ita Kush, Walter, Eklund, the 2 McLarens, P9 and P10, Calvin, Knight? This could be very interesting, as I don't think Rotation has enough time to catch back up to the field. His teammates entering Degner too. Yep,
and I mean, safety car. It was announced that he will be coming in here at the end of this lap, so I think Farrell will be able to catch up. But I think serving that penalty, the double stack there with the Red Bull team, not working out too well for Rotation here. As he's doesn't appear as if he's going to be able to catch up in time. All he can do is try to limit the damage, but my view is switching over to the front here, as looks like XL Gary might just be starting very shortly to get a move on to restart this Grand Prix, to start lap 21 out of 27. You can already see a little bit of battle there. Izad Kush, Wouter getting right into it here. XL Larkin and Eklund also getting ahead. You can see drivers moving to the inside and the inside of the inside as they're trying to battle for positions at turn 1. But it looks like, who was that? That was side by side. That looks to be Jamie and Izad Kush. You mentioned Knight, and I think that might have been that other Aston Martin that went for a little bit of a half spin there in turn 1 and turn 2, unless that was...
Doesn't go down the inside of Gary. No, Gary's got the outside line, inside line next, but when he gets the switchback in him though, as Justice is right behind him. Giroud's a better exit on those fresher tyres, goes down the inside of Gary, but Gary's sticking around the outside if he can. It's still side by side, but Giroud's just ahead of him. Should have claimed this inside line next if he does. But Gary's still there in the slipstream of Giroud. His Mercedes teammate is right behind him too, so this could get tasty down there. I think ISRL Nice had a problem because I heard him shouting in the background yet again. But Giroud has the inside line from Gary, and he takes the lead in this race ahead of Justice. So Justice needs to get past Gary if he wants to win this race, so he can get up to his teammate. Walter has got past Isa Kush, so Jamie has lost 2 places off the safety car restart. Will the Mercedes driver go down the inside? No, he waits for the straight. As we head on to lap 22 then, as Gary's used a lot of ERS, he's already run out of ERS, and here comes Justice. That's easy move then. I think the cars behind might follow as the battery then refills itself, and here goes Walter on the Haas driver. Will he go down the inside? No, he can't, because Justice is there defending the inside. They both make contact, and I think, yeah, they're both safe at the moment. Walter goes around the outside, better exit on those soft compound tyres, finds himself up on the podium place positions. So Isa Kushten next driver to try and overtake Gary, because he's in the fight with his championship rival Walter. As will Isa Kush go down the inside? Yes, he will. They're both breaking late, and Isa Kush has to back out of it. There's not enough space there, and Jamie won. Got so close behind Isa Kush. I'm not sorry for a bit of carbon fibre come off his car, but his front wing looks intact so far. So interesting there for Jeroen and Isha and Walter.
Yeah, great battles here, and that don't look like they're going to be stopping anytime soon here, as XL Gary trying to keep Isaac Kush behind. And you can see Wouter, he's on a charge now, putting a lot of pressure on Justice. We might see these positions swap over the course of the next DRS straight. I do want to say other battles on track. You saw Larkin and Eklund battling amongst each other just a little bit here on the stream. That's since been sort of sorted out. But only just here, as I think that's going to restart heading down the start-finish straight. Riding on board with Wouter, looks like he's a little bit too far. Isaac Kush, on the other hand, going alongside of XL Gary, and it looks like the fresher soft tires are more than enough to get the overtake done into turn 1, and that's XL Gary down in P5. Next up, it's his teammate of Jamian. I don't know if there's going to be too much battling there. You can see Jamian on the outside, going to turn into the inside of the next corner, but I think XL Gary just let off a little bit, allowing his teammate on the quicker tire and the slightly better strategy to get ahead. But it seems like XL Gary just stuck in the middle of every single battle here, just not on the right side of it. As once again being pressured by Eklund and XL Larkin just a little bit further behind there as well. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 2.
It's as in the pit lane, mate. It's all good.
Okay, nothing to worry too much there. But XL Gary hanging on as much as Eklund is right along the back of him. And I think it might be a move either into Parabolica or down into turn 1, like we've seen time and time again here. I don't have my other gaps on my screen. Oh, but there goes XL Larkin, who had a bit of a moment. It's going to be 3 wide between these cars as they're charging down towards turn 1. XL Larkin, Eklund, and Gary. That's Knight out of this Grand Prix in the process. Who is that? That's an AI car that seemed to get in the way. It's all gone off here as we've got a safety car.
Why is there a safety car? I'm not quite sure.
I think it's for Knight. That's.
Did he retire the pits? I thought he did. I saw him retire the pit lane, but
I mean,
is it the beginning of the pit lane? I can see an Aston Martin just at the beginning of the pit lane. He might crash into the pit lane entry wall. Tell him to come inside your room and tell him. I don't know, but the Aston Martin then it has probably caused a safety car.
It looks like that was the case. You could hear the frustration from the pit wall. But
that was a shame, because Walter was at the back of these Mercedes guys. While all that was going on in the midfield, Walter was right behind both Mercedes. It's just made a move into turn 1, but he couldn't quite make it. Jeroen Visser just had the edge and managed to defend from his Mercedes teammate, and Walter was just lurking all over the background behind him. So safety car came out the worst possible scenario for Walter, as he had DRS and both Mercedes, but I don't think DRS will be enabled yet again in this race. That could be it for DRS, so I think it's going to be a drag race all the way to the end, sprint race.
Yeah, it might just have to rely on pure pace as the race has essentially come to a close. And oh, okay, I thought I saw somebody dive into the pits, and I was
I thought I did too.
I was about to question that decision. I think maybe Wouter trying to play some mind games on Isaac Kush, fake that pit lane entry. Old school though, and Feral Fury taking some pit stops. But I mean, it all went off there as we had, of course, through all that, also 3 wide into turn 1, and I think that might have been Wagner's AI after retiring in the pits. I'm sure you're aware of this, Jamie, that once you retire in the pits, that car actually leaves the pits and drives off to the nearest runoff area afterwards for some reason.
I saw in the older games that probably 2020 game, when you retire in the pit lane, it actually stays there. It doesn't come back out of the track. I thought it did that, but obviously not. So
no, they actually, a lot of times, it might be depending on where you do the retirement, but I've seen a lot of cases where the cars have just, they come back out on track and find the next actual runoff area to park the car safely. Which brings a couple interesting, some interesting cases, sort of like what we saw there right here with an AI car kind of getting involved in a 3-wide into turn 1, just trying to get out of the way, and other tracks like Monaco where you end up driving half the track before getting that runoff area. But I mean, that was the case. That happened there. A little bit interesting to see, but what's going to be even more interesting to see is how this race is going to close out as the safety cars coming in at the end of this lap. So you've got both Jerome and Justice, the two Mercedes on the medium tires. Then you've got the championship rivals, Wouter and Izat Kush, P3, P4 on the soft tires right behind. It looks like we're going green here already, with Wouter putting a lot of pressure on Justice, riding on board with the with the Ferrari driver as they head down towards turn 1 to start the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix. Jerome leading, Justice in second, and as they head through into turn 1, that is the way it's going to remain here, with Wouter in third, just unable to close up enough off of the restart here, and it might make things just a little bit more peaceful for the two Mercedes with that worry zone going down into turn 1, knowing that DRS will not be activated from now till the end of the race. It's going to rely on pure racecraft and pure pace. Meanwhile, sorry, what were you saying?
I saw Jamie lose the rear of the car quite out of the second chicane, and Eklund bounced over the curbs, but thankfully he did bounce into the gravel. But that has put Larkin all over the back of him, so he's got to watch out for him as he lost time behind Jamie in 1.2 seconds now, and he's got Larkin to look out for. Meanwhile, Gary's got a lot of defending to do from Tin Can and Nathan, and Old School has overtaken Calvin on the track into Ascari. They go. It's going to be interesting towards the end of this race, see what Wouter can do with those fresher soft compound tyres. Can he get a good launch? Can he stick to the back of Justice to get right behind him and be in that slipstream? Looks like Justice got a better exit compared to the Ferrari on those medium compound tyres. We're on the last lap of this race. Can Wouter slipstream Justice to get him into turn 1? Or has Justice got the edge as Larkin's overtaken Eklund? Justice commits to the inside line, and here comes Wouter going around the outside, late on the brakes, has the inside line too. Can he get a good exit, or will he go to Justice? Justice has the outside line and gets better traction coming out of turn 2. But Justice doesn't have the slipstream behind Giroud, whereas Wouter has the slipstream behind Justice. But has he got enough straight line speed to out-drag him into turn 3? No, he does not, actually. And down the inside goes Isa Kush.
Yeah, he's at... I was about to say...
Contest been made!
And that's Izat that went for a little bit of a half spun. That's the end of his race there, as he tried to go down the inside of Wouter. They ended up battling, but it almost seemed like...
Calvin spun too.
Oh, did he as well? So almost 2x2
He's
there.
Out the race.
Oh, that's Calvin out of the race. So unfortunately not making it through here, the final lap. But crucially though, for the top two, for the two Mercedes drivers, I think Izat Kush and Wouter trying to, getting stuck in a battle of their own. Eklund getting ahead of Jamian through Ascari, so a nice little move there to gain an extra position there for Eklund to put that car into a top 5, and it looks like that might be where it's going to stick as they head towards the line. It's going to be Jerome Justice who takes the win, Wouter in second, and XL Larkin rounding out the podium, as it looks like a couple drivers might have had some unserved penalties that got added onto their time at the end of this race.
Did you see Drew get a penalty? Because I did.
No, that's what I'm thinking. Actually, if there was an unserved penalty, I'll have to take a look at the, I guess the, race director. Yes, thank you.
I'm not quite sure, because I would have saw a penalty mark next to his name, but that's quite weird because I did not see Jerome pick up one penalty in that race, dropped down to P5, so that's very interesting. But Justice then wins the Grand Prix. Jamie lost the position of the last lap due to his... No, he doesn't get a penalty, Giroud. He finished 5th on track, didn't he? It's not showing a penalty. So how is he down as P5? What's going on there? That
wouldn't make a sense. That wouldn't make any sense.
Race director, no penalties. He's got 2 warnings, but he hasn't got a penalty. So he's just lost the victory due to the game glitching out. That's very interesting then.
Well, that is something that in a case like this, we've seen it in the past where this game likes to just shuffle the order for some reason. So there is still a chance that Jerome can be honored that victory even after the fact. Just, a bit of a Stewart's report, and I mean, I saw it. I'm willing to vouch for that there. But I mean,
too.
for now. For now, at least it's a Mercedes on the top step of justice. Wouter and XL Larkin in second and third. I mean, even if this changes from 19th on the grid up into what is for now third place, my goodness, what a drive from Larkin there.
Yeah, I did not see Issa Kush going down the inside until the last moment on Wild. He must have got a really good exit while those two were fighting, being put offline by both of them. Therefore, Issa Kush got a much better exit than both of them. Used the EOS as slipstream. He couldn't make the move done, and sadly he got spun around, but that was an interesting last few laps between those three drivers there. Congrats for Justice to win the race, unless Jeroen Visser did win the race. He just glitched out, but nevertheless, it was a good race towards the end. We saw about 3 safety cars come out.
Yeah, it was really a fantastic race there. It was filled with a little bit of everything, and I mean, really got excited at the end. I mean, we saw the battle between it was Wouter and I mean, one of the McLarens that I'm completely blanking on names here, but yeah, Isaac Kush was trying to get by. I think he was trying to make something work there for him right at the end, knowing that time was running out. But unfortunately, the reward just wasn't there for the Aston Martin driver, and that was it. But still a great race nonetheless, even through all the chaos, all of the grid order changes. I mean, I was really happy to take us through it. And Jamie, once again, thank you for joining me in the booth here for this race.
Yeah, as always happy to commentate with you and watch the action with you as well. It's always been a pleasure every Sunday evening. What a way to finish off my Sunday evening / your Sunday afternoon being in Canada.
Yep. It's a great way to finish it off after what was already a great day, great afternoon of racing action. Now I know we're in that general party that some already have the podium invites for, so I'm just buying a little bit of time here to see if they're willing to jump in or not to give us some thought, give us some insight. And if not, then we'll call it there for the stream. But of course, as I always have to do here, I'll take us through the sponsors here as we're waiting along. I do have to give a thank you to our partners, Advanced Sim Racing, IFEA. Thank you for your support in allowing us to do what we do. We've got some more information on them on the Discord, on the Facebook. You can go check them out there. But of course, you got to thank the partners here for their support. And I mean, of course, I always call the fans our third partner because you guys are what we do it for. So I got to thank you guys, the fans, for tuning in every week, cheering on the drivers, giving us the love, giving us the support. Thank you for all that you do in allowing us to do what we love to do. But I'm not too sure if we're getting any podium interviews. So I'm gonna ask this here, Jamie. Any final words before we end off the stream here?
I just hope for all of the good action next week as well. That's because the past few races has been absolutely amazing with the close on board battles there, especially at Silverstone here at Monza. People getting caught out by the curbs, you've seen, and hopefully the next one will be good as the last two.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a good one. We've got Suzuka next week, so it's going to be a good one. I mean, the Japanese Grand Prix always makes for some exciting action, and I'm sure it's going to be no different this time around. But I guess that'll do it here for the stream today. What a race that was, Jamie. Like I said, thank you for joining me on stream. It was great to have you here in the booth. But of course, on behalf of myself, Jamie, and everybody here at ISRL Esports, I do want to say thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all next week. Have yourselves a fantastic evening.